Now, James, tell me, what are the traditions and culture of the tribe of the Wampanoag Gayhead?
Well, there was actually a lot of traditions. Also, there was a lot of things that would have been going on between Native people in general. When it comes to like celebrations and things of that sort, it was about people nowadays celebrate Thanksgiving in November, which is actually not, something that you should be celebrating because you're not harvesting anything in November. The actual Thanksgiving actually took place in October because you're not harvesting anything in winter. That's in November, So the first Thanksgiving itself was actually a little bit different than how people perceive it. They said, oh, the Native people and the English, they came together and had a big feast for a couple of days. It wasn't exactly like that. The English, they actually were shooting off their muskets, and Native people actually had no idea why. They felt as though it could be violating the treaty that was actually set forth. So Chief Massasoit and about 90 of his warriors actually marched here from Pokanoket, to Plymouth actually. And Plymouth, to Wampanoags, that's about 60, almost 70 miles. And when Chief Massasoit actually arrived, they actually were come to find out that they were just shooting up the muskets celebration. Because it was actually their first harvest that they actually ever had. Here in the new land, So basically, the Wampanoag, looked at what the English were serving. It was just basically stuff that they grew. And Wampanoag people would actually have, a feast of things not only that they grew, but things that they would actually, go and hunt, So, Massasoit sent his warriors off, basically, and they all hunted, deer, and they fouled, basically, ever heard of fouling?
No.
Well, it's just like hunting animals, like, or, birds like ducks and quail and...
Oh, like a whole bunch of animals?
Yes.
Okay.
And basically, what they did was they actually feasted with the English for 3 days. But it only happened one time. So it's not like we have it nowadays every year. But there was, throughout the entire year, the Native people had multiple harvests, because there was a harvest of strawberries, that's the first berry of the season. Also, there's altogether there's about 12 celebrations left.
Yeah, interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about the powwow?
Well, the powwow that we actually hold here on the vineyard was actually the first one that we've actually, when I was about 13, 14 years ago, when we first actually had the first annual powwow, that was the first one that we actually had on the island in about 70 years.
Really?
Yeah, and now it's actually happening every single year now, which is really good to see. But powwow is actually, a celebration, where people come together and we sing, we dance, we have feasts. But nowadays we have actually people that come around, vendors, they sell all sorts of crafts. They're Native artisans as well that sell their different crafts. But the word powwow actually, it was actually what Native people would actually refer to as like their medicine people.
Oh, medicine people.
Yeah, like our medicine men or our medicine women. So, just like you would respect them, you would respect your powwow, always have good energy, when you go to a place like that. So that's why you don't ever see, a lot of violence or anything like that. So.
Interesting. Can you tell me, you said medicine people, how was the medicine back in the days for the natives?
Medicine, there was actually a lot of plants and herbs, different like plant compounds as well. But there was always a man or woman that actually would, for every single native village, that actually would have been training themselves in the different plants and herbs in the area. For say if someone got sick, they could actually go out and get whatever plant or herb that they needed and, help them out. But basically every single person knew, what plants and herbs would be able to, take care of whatever such thing that you had. So, but nowadays there's a lot of medicine that we have in the hospitals that Native people actually had back in the 1600s.
Really?
There's a lot of things that people have nowadays, Advil, or, back then you could have used staghorn sumac.
For the same as Advil
you could have, exactly, could have made it. Yeah, there was also, back then, even Native acts of birth control. Believe it or not.
How is that?
There was actually different plant compounds that women would have taken that easily would have spaced out the children that they would have had every 3 to 5 years.
Oh
So you would
my
have
God.
one child every 3 to 5 years. And there was also a certain plant compound that even would have stopped ovulation completely.
How interesting. Wow, very intelligent people. So let me ask you one more question, or
Sure.
maybe two.
Okay.
How does it feel to be Wampanoag, to be part of the tribe?
It's wonderful. I mean, for me to actually, sit and talk to people about my culture, it's just one thing that I'm good at,
Yeah, I can see that.
Not, I don't like to brag about it, but I can sit here and just talk about my culture just because I grew up, learning this, I grew up basically in my community here on the island. When I was younger, I started, learning how to sing, learning how to drum. From there, dancing, and now I can talk about culture, basically all day,
Yeah.
different dates or certain things that have been accomplished, or certain things that, certain thing went down.
Yeah.
But being a Native person in general, it's a good experience, because here I am in 2010, knowing who I am, knowing who my ancestors were, being able to do a lot of things that they did.
Yeah.
Like build the traditional vessels that they had called mashoons, the traditional witus or houses. Being a Native artisan, I can do a lot of things.
That's awesome.
And if it wasn't for, a lot of people in their research, and there's probably a lot of things I wouldn't know right now.
Yeah.
But being a Native person, actually, continuing on traditions, it's wonderful.
So since we graduated from high school, what have you been doing?
Well, I've been working for Plymouth Plantation since I was 17.
Yeah.
So since junior year, and I've been working there ever since. Basically, I'm an interpreter / artisan. Interpreter meaning I wear my traditional clothing and I can go and talk to the public. But at the same time, I'm always working on a craft.
Yeah.
I'm working on maybe a house or a boat. But it's not like we, build the houses and take them down and then we build them and maintain them.
Okay.
I go and I actually harvest all the materials as well. We have the cedar frames actually, they grow in swamps. So
Yeah.
I actually go out and harvest it. I've actually had to strip all the bark as well off the tree for the covering. Kind of a sticky job.
Yeah, I know.
But as well is that, working at Plymouth Plantation has just been, a wonderful experience for me. I've learned a lot more than a lot of things I actually never thought I'd even know.
Wow.
And also being able to work on certain projects is, unbelievable. Some of the things where, when you're working with stone,
Yeah.
method of pecking, to even shape it, so working there has definitely been, a change for me,
That's good.
It's changed my life, definitely. So, and also that being able to, talk to the public about my
Yeah.
culture has just been completely, outstanding.